Jaws D, Wendell. It's Toy
Yo,
Fair.
yo. Oh, best time of the year.
We have arrived. um, okay, so we're going to dive into this. There's going to be a whole bunch of segments. Anyone who's a regular listener at the podcast is normally used to getting maybe one segment a day, maybe sometimes two segments a day. We got a lot of stuff to unpack here, so you're going to be
There's too
getting,
much.
yeah, guys are going to be getting a lot this weekend and then the coming week for sure. So we're going to dive into the first topic, which is, as of this recording, it's Friday evening of Toy Fair. Let's start with first Transformers Cyberverse and what Hasbro has shown to us thus far. The initial press releases that they gave us were first some images just showing us the different characters and product, and then afterwards they showed us more detailed images depicting also the different price points, because it seems like every character will, and this is a common thing anyways right now, every character will get multiple price points for their same character. Some gimmick
Yeah.
based, some just size based. We'll just go through the characters quickly. So, I mean, with this, we more or less confirm people that are going to be in this series. We knew initially with Cyberverse, with the talk of the TV series and stuff like that, that Bumblebee and Windblade were going to be two characters that were going to be central to it. But now we have confirmation 100% that we will have Optimus Prime, we will have Megatron, we will have Cliffjumper, Starscream, Shockwave. So to start with that, we now know right away some other characters that'll be in it. The capacity of what those characters will be in the show is a whole different story. I mean, the worry that still exists is the fact that it's a 11-minute episode show. So that runtime maybe might not be the best thing for having a large cast. Maybe this is it. Maybe that's it for the cast, short of Windblade's toy being released. But that being said, another criticism that a lot of people have been having is that this is pretty much yet another. It's a modern series, but it's just more or less just G1.
Yeah.
In terms of aesthetic, and like like in a lot of ways, these designs could have been classics toys. I mean, ignoring the simplicity of the designs of the toys themselves, but these could have all been classics toys in a lot of ways. It's just this happens to be a main line that happens to have, an Optimus Prime that's a flat-nosed truck, a Megatron that's a gray tank, a Starscream that's more or less G1 Starscream.
Yeah.
There's a Grimlock that's Grimlock. It's a Shockwave that, interestingly enough, is another, I guess harkens to animated from his,
Yeah, I was thinking that too with this
with the
kind of
four-legged kind of
yeah,
turret thing, which
kind of tank
which is
thingy.
what, because of the fusion of what the long arm Shockwave thing was, where it had like a four-legged kind of tank thing going. But yeah, so to go over pretty much what there was. So we have the Scout class, which is going to have Scout being obviously the standard Legends or smaller class. That's going to have Bumblebee, Grimlock, Megatron, and Starscream. We've seen through the images that have been provided is the Scout class is going to have what seems like more of a, it's going to be more gimmick based. From the images that we've seen, it looks like they're all going to have some kind of half transformed gimmick. Like,
Yeah, it almost looks like it kind of plays into what you would probably do with your Transformers as a kid,
oh yeah.
where you try to like make a halfway mode kind of thing.
Well, it's funny because everyone has something that's either like Starscream has the traditional like almost Macross Gearwalker mode.
Yeah,
Bumblebee, Megatron have like the sitting down with your legs half transformed to roll.
it's like a was it a tanker? What was the tank called in Gundam?
Oh, the gun tank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the gun tank kind of style.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, it's kind of like the gun tank, and then I don't know what's going on with Grimlock. He just kind of looks like he's like a half
A p
transformed and just
Like a Pez dispenser.
yeah.
I don't know.
They do, according to the text here, even though it's not shown here, they do actually do transform into their full uh, alt modes. So it's not just they
Hmm.
just go from robot mode to this half transform gimmick. It's just that the gimmick with it is like, oh, they have like these kind of attack modes and stuff. Afterwards, then we have what's called the Warrior class, which is known as our Deluxes, which will have Bumblebee, Optimus Prime, Shockwave, and Starscream. We've seen already images of what the Warrior class more or less looks like. Unfortunately, judging by the CG images, specifically the Optimus Prime Warrior class, It looks like they're very simplified warrior classes this time around. The Optimus Prime looks like he has a lot of hollowed out areas
Yeah.
in his body. So, despite the fact that this is going to be a deluxe class figure, judging by transformation, choice of colors, I mean, I really hope that these CGs are incorrect because Optimus has like red smokestacks. So it's like they didn't even try to paint them gray. So I really hope that they aren't really just budget deluxes, that they actually are something that's a little more complex. We jump then afterwards, and again, even like just maybe just to touch on even the Warrior class Shockwave, that one looks a lot better. But mostly because Shockwave really is a character. It's only known for like 3 colors, anyways.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's
Very
a
simplified.
lot of purple. So it's not really that big a deal. There's not much to break up there. But otherwise, I mean, the Starscream looks not bad. But at the same time, I look at it and go, well, it's Starscream. It's the
Yeah.
transformation.
Not much you have to do.
Transformation's been perfected up to this point. There's not going to be many surprises, and you could look at these CGs and figure out the transformation very easily, to the point that I almost feel like he's just folded in half. Like I just feel like he's just going to unfold
Yeah.
him and he's done. And that's the Warrior class, which is the deluxes. Then we have something called the Ultra class. This is the first time we've had the Ultra class in a very long time. That term hasn't been used in a very long time. Ultra
Since
class.
when? I would assume Beast Wars.
I think Ultra class kind of got phased out around the time of Cybertron. And then they just they started calling, like, you had like the Voyager and Leader, because after Cybertron we went into the movie like line, and they had stuff that was Ultra class in the movie line, but it was only because they were using Cybertron molds in some areas. So they
Right.
called them Ultra class, but it wasn't really until animated and then going into deeper into the movie stuff that we have Voyager and then Leader, and there was no such thing as an Ultra in between. But so now we have the Ultra class here, which is Bumblebee, Grimlock, and Starscream, and the Ultra class is being played out more as, from what I could tell here, more of a gimmick-based one. It's the larger scale, but it's also something that's probably more gimmick-based, because I look at the Starscream specifically, and how his silhouette has these two giant, whatever you want to call them, turrets or
These
jetpack.
big canisters
Yeah,
or something
which
like
is
that.
something that is totally absent from his other design from the Warrior, and even looking at even the Scout Starscream. So clearly, it looks like the Ultra class is an in between that is more gimmick based. And again, we have already something like that. Within all the different Transformer lines, where we have something that's it's its own scale, that has a gimmick, but it's usually more dedicated to something that doesn't transform, like a Cyber Stomp and Bumblebee or something. But now it's something that it's back. It's used more to be a larger scale gimmick class. Maybe, hopefully, more paint applications, but otherwise more the gimmick price point. And because it's a gimmick price point, might as well make it the more larger, pricier one. And
Yeah,
that'll be the thing
exactly.
that'll be kids will usually get for Christmas or something, because it's. And then we get to the last one, which is called the Ultimate class. I'm going to assume that this is what the Leader class is going to be. And this is the one where it's like, well, it's probably going to be the larger one with the most paint and everything. But again, I look at that Prime and I'm like, wow, like the fists are still being covered by the front of the car, of the truck,
Yeah.
excuse me. So I'm like, is the simplicity still, is that an intentional part of
And the
the,
legs and the thigh
yeah,
is
how
like
how
pretty hollowed
hollow it
out.
is. You could still see like the mushroom peg for how the thigh attaches. So that means like they're not going to go with a ratchet joint. It's just going to be a mushroom peg that swivels, and how hollow it is. I don't want to be hating on it, but the concerns that I have of how this line's engineering is being used across the board right now, is a little, it's a little interesting. And the only other thing I want to point out is, the one, I guess, saving grace from the Ultimate Class one is Optimus Prime will have an opening chest that reveals a Matrix, which is that's hey yay, that's kind of cool. And there is a photo, that they posted where they have the Ultimate Class Optimus Prime next to the Ultra Class Starscream, next to the Deluxe Class Bumblebee, next to the Legend Scale, or excuse me, the Scout Scale Megatron. So it shows you how big they all are. So you get an idea of scale and how all these are going to be and everything. And I don't know. I really hope these aren't expensive. Number one, I'm getting kind of a vibe of what was going on, like when Robots in Disguise 2.0 came out. A lot of the deluxes had kind of a simplified design. They were kind of hollow in a lot of areas. Some were really good. Don't get me wrong. Some were really good, but a lot of them also kind of had that feel to them. Uh, and just as time progressed, I worried that is this going to be kind of the future of how Transformer toys are being handled, because prices are increasing, but I feel like the amount of build quality in a lot of the toys have not been,
and the amount of plastic. On top
yeah,
of that, too.
they've not been keeping up with that. And I think, maybe it has to do with, they just want to enjoy the same profits that they've always had. So I don't know. It's an interesting way that the evolution is going, and this is going to be the main line for 2018. So it's something that people are going to have to get used to. And this is, according to this is going to be wave one, which is interesting that there's no Windblade, considering that she's going to be a big part of the TV series, at least according to the promotional material. So I guess she'll be in wave two, I guess. And it's considering how short the series is, with its 11-minute episode runtime per episode, I mean, that doesn't give a lot of space to have a long-running toy line either, unless they then do a season 2 and a season 3 if this is successful. In all honesty, I'll be honest, I was kind of hoping for something that really was very different. I like whenever a new Transformers series comes out that it reinvents itself and does something different. This is very Classics, the TV series. Like, it's as if they had to do a Classics series, but just keep the design simple so you could sell it to kids and stuff, instead of it being more targeted towards an older audience, which is what Classics and Generations and Universe 2.0 was always about. So,
Well, yeah, because remember we did talk about what the age range was for this show.
yeah.
And it's clearly not us.
Oh no, this
it's definitely not people
I-
that actually grew up or were around during the first run of the show or generations.
I feel that this is more
we're aged out.
it's
here,
more
basically.
creating for the young audience a nostalgic connection to G1 designs. I think
Yeah.
if anything else, it's doing that. It's where now a father could be excited about a flat-nosed Optimus Prime that's red, white, and blue done in that style, and so could a kid, because both of them are going to grow up on that same thing. Where, I mean, when you look at even Armada Optimus Prime, there's a lot of differences, a grill on the chest, and the way, even though it's a long-nosed truck too, but just there's a lot of physical differences with, you just look at something like Armada, which was a change of the guard in a lot of ways for Transformers. Their Bumblebee was hot shot, was a sports car, very similar to actually what's going on here with Bumblebee here.
Yeah.
But was a sports car, but still very different kind of final silhouette. The Megatron was different. The Starscream was probably the closest to G1 out of all of them in sharing colors and shape. But everyone else really was a bit of a departure. And, I mean, even Shockwave when he came around in Energon and stuff, or Super Link, Laser Wave. But it's to me, I'm just not a fan of how, number one, everything is just another classic, like, it's another gray Megatron tank. You know what I mean? It's another Optimus Prime that, in all honesty, looks like every other Optimus Prime. It's another Starscream that looks more or less like every other Starscream I have. It's another Grimlock that looks like every other Grimlock I have. I mean, even that alt mode on that Grimlock is very reminiscent of, like, the animated alt mode, where it's a little more doofy looking, I guess is the best way to put it.
Okay.
It's to me, there's nothing really new to the table here from a creative standpoint for someone who wants to buy something new for their shelving. Like, oh, I'm really excited about this. It's a different take on the character or whatever. It's more, and from an engineering standpoint, if you're someone who enjoys transformations, I think you're going to be very disappointed at every price point, because everything looks pretty simple. So you're not going to be like getting that Optimus Prime and be reinventing the wheel and being blown away. And again, you look back even at Robots in Disguise 2.0 that just passed, which was last year and the year before's brand. Optimus Prime at least had a little bit of a different transformation and a little bit of a different look. It still was the same standardized Optimus Prime, but ultimately in the end, it still was a little bit different. This is G1 Prime. This is straight.
I think I'm kind of leading on the words that you're saying just now. Like, it is probably like maybe a kid that's graduating from Rescue
Bots, yeah.
Rescue Bots, excuse me, and then like the parent can be like, okay, you could graduate to this Cyberverse. Because remember, even you said Hascon was really focusing on that
On that demographic.
that Saturday and Sunday, where it's the family day.
Yeah. No, and
You
you're
know,
right.
so
You're right though.
so I think that's what this series is definitely leaning heavy into. So I feel like as an old school fan, there's nothing new here for us, but for sure this is like, hey, if you have kids and you're an old school fan, you could be like, well, this is my Optimus Prime I had when I was a kid. This is MP Optimus Prime MP10, and now this is your Optimus Prime.
Well, and
You know, it's like
especially
an
considering not a single one of these toys has looks like any more than like 4 or 8 steps. Like
Yeah.
even going into the higher price point stuff. I mean, Optimus, Megatron, they all kind of look like they just kind of fold onto each other in maybe 5
Yeah.
steps, and there you go. Like, I mean, that arm cannon probably doesn't even detach. It probably just is the tank gun, and that's it.
No, I think it does. Because the way I'm seeing it is that on his arms there's these like little red and then two red pegs and then a little white in the middle.
Hmm.
And then you look at the cannon on the arm of the Megatron, and it has the two red pegs like more in the center.
No, I
So I
think,
think you,
in all honesty,
I think you could swap. I could think you could swap it on either arm.
I think you can't see it in the CG model, but I think that the fists obviously tuck into the wrists.
Yeah.
You click up the arms so that the red is tucked in and it's flush with the gray on the gray. And then this has existed in the past with different Megatrons and other Transformer characters, where the arm cannon pivots on the arm so that it can be put into a different place if needed.
Oh, you know what I'm seeing right now? So if you look at the alt mode, where the fists are, the fists don't tuck in. I think they stay where they are.
Oh God, I hope
If you
that's
look,
not the case.
if you look at his tank mode, you know where the turret would be,
Yeah.
and you see the black. That's his fist.
Oh geez. Yeah, I think you're right.
And then on the back of the fist is like the guns. So that's the gauntlet, and so his fists will turn in, and then it will attach to that
See, there you
forearm
go. So
part that I'm talking
and
about.
again, at the ultimate class, that's one less transformation part, like movement.
So you're probably right that the cannon probably doesn't move at
Yeah,
all.
and that's why. And again, looking at the cannon too, if you actually look at the cannon on the robot mode, on the cannon leading more up towards the forearm, there it looks like there's a pressure clip there that's going to attach to on. If you look on his forearm on the
Yeah,
other.
that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I thought you could remove it and put it on the other arm. That's what I was assuming, but no. What I'm seeing now, if I look at the alt mode, the two arms come together over his head,
Yeah.
and they attach together.
But
to
that's
give
why
you that,
even in the most expensive price point, there's still a grand simplicity that again, like
yeah,
you said,
again,
this
I'm
isn't
telling
for
you,
us.
Yeah, it's not for us.
This
It's
isn't for
definitely,
us. So
definitely
like
not for us.
this year's series is going to be the 11-minute kind of thing. The storytelling, I don't know. Again, from what the demographics told us, it's going to be done for a younger age group, and the toys all themselves are going to be heavy simplicity and nothing new to the table. Like it's kind of funny. It's like if you want this Cyberverse, if you want the best Cyberverse Optimus Prime toy, you probably already own it. It's called MP10. You know,
Yeah.
if you want the best Cyberverse Grimlock toy, you probably already own it. You know, or Starscream, or I think like again, the only ones that kind of go outside of their norms is Shockwave is kind of a little different, and Bumblebee is kind of a little different this time around. And if and when we get Windblade, is the same thing. Like, is it going to still be like, will we throw out our Takara Tommy Legends Windblade and replace it with this one, or is it going to be the same old
God.
thing? Either way,
I hope not.
whatever. We'll talk about more of this as we learn more in the future, but so far, it's not going to be for us.